As the off-cycle elections in Edo and Ondo states get ever closer, conversation shifts to candidates and their agenda. Hope for an improved transport sector is now high as the federal government took delivery of compressed natural gas CNG-powered buses. This is part of the efforts of the current administration to cushion the effects of fuel subsidy removal. Plus, discussions on the youths and their relevance to nation building. We have this and more on the program. I'm Fisayo Gunfuyi. Welcome. The federal government has taken delivery of compressed natural gas CNG-powered buses from the Depot and Petroleum Products Marketers Association of Nigeria, DAPMAN. President Bola Tinubu took the delivery of the high-capacity buses at the State House.
The Federal Executive Council meeting held this Monday with different memos on the agenda. But after a few hours of deliberation and consideration, council members took to the forecourt of the State House to witness another success under the presidential CNG initiative. Under NNPCL arrangements, the Depot and Petroleum Products Marketers Association of Nigeria, DAPMAN, is delivering locally manufactured hybrid buses planned to run on CNG.
To the glory of God and promise of change to prosperity for Nigerian transportation, I hereby inaugurate the bus.
With commercial vehicles constituting about 80% of petrol demands in the country, while the abundant deposit of natural gas is under harnessed, President Bola Tinubu believes Nigeria must be innovative in its approach towards reworking the economy for greater prosperity.
If we work harder, be productive and innovative, it is an economic necessity that we should embrace. If we can enhance our energy competitiveness and bring about transformative changes like this, we would definitely be able to achieve the prosperity that we are working hard to accomplish for our people.
Apart from aiming at a more environmentally friendly transportation system, the current administration is also targeting reduction in the cost of transportation with the CNG initiative.
And that was on Monday. Now to a change of leadership in the saddle of the civil service. Mrs. Esther Wilson-Jack has been sworn in as the new head of the civil service of the Federation. The ceremony was before the commencement of the Federal Executive Council on Monday under the chairmanship of President Bola Tinubu. Mrs. Wilson-Jack took over from Mrs. Folashade Yemieson, who proceeds on retirement from civil service after 5 years at the top civil service position.
But one thing I have done is to put in my best into the service.
It's sunset for Folashade Yemieson in the Federal Civil Service. And in the last moments in the council chambers in this capacity, Mrs. Yemieson literally saw herself in a mirror. The council members, through the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, extolled the virtues of Mrs. Yemieson as a public servant, which they believe have fostered transparency, efficiency and accountability in the Federal Civil Service. These attributes have also won place in the mind of the President, who acknowledged the diligence of the outgone head of civil service and what he described as big shoes for the incoming #1 federal civil servant.
We must learn from her more of commitment to duty, loyalty, and great vision. She served our nation exceptionally well with distinction, guiding the civil service through significant transformation and reform.
As big as the shoes may be, Didi Esther Wilson-Jack was set to step in anyways.
I'm looking forward to building on the existing reforms in a way that will bring in innovation and creativity so that the civil service bureaucracy can be more effective and more efficient to deliver on the renewed hope agenda.
Moving to politics proper now, the leadership of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, is confident that its candidate for the September 21, 2024 Edo State governorship election, Asue Ighodalo, will come out victorious as it gets more support from the people across party divide. National Publicity Secretary of the party, Debo Olugunagba, expressed this on behalf of the leadership of the party at a media briefing in Abuja.
This media briefing by the PDP is to bring members and supporters of the party up to speed on its readiness for the September 21 governorship election in Edo State. The party is running a robust and issue-based campaign that has penetrated all parts of Edo State with a detailed people-oriented manifesto, PDP national spokesperson emphasized.
We're confident and we're satisfied with the performance of our candidate in projecting our party to connect with the aspiration of Nigerians, particularly at this time.
Evident in the organic crowd and followership in the party's rallies across all the wards in Edo State, Olugunagba says the PDP Reconciliation Committee in Edo State is working to unite aggrieved members.
And that's why we're not only reconciling with ourselves, we're reaching out to other parties.
The party's governorship candidate, Asue Ighodalo, remains PDP legally produced candidate in the September 21 governorship election, as Olugunagba enjoins the people of Edo State to disregard the rumor of disqualification of the PDP candidate in some quarters.
So many things to cover on the program. So after a fortnight of a unique interaction between the governing and the governed, society seems to have returned to an even keel. But some questions still rumble on over the conversations on the direction of state. Joining us to further these concepts and discussions is former lawmaker Sam Onuigbo. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much indeed, Fisayo.
Now, in view of recent developments, what are your takeaways from the interactions between government and the citizens and some of the low-hanging fruits you have noticed?
Well, thank you. You know, the issue of protest, association, and all that, they are provided for in the Constitution. But all that worries or concerns the citizens is when it goes out of hand and moves away from peaceful protest to violent issues. However, I think the interaction afforded the citizens, particularly the youths and everyone in the society, the opportunity to be able to say, these are our concerns. And it's a wonderful thing that Mr. President also made a broadcast to say, yes, we have had this and we are prepared to engage, so as to look for areas that need to be smoothened to ensure that we have very cordial, peaceful, and productive administration. I don't think it's something that does not happen elsewhere. But here in Nigeria, there's in fact the need for us to know that we can do this better. And Mr. President has done well by, preparing to engage with the youths in particular.
All right, moving forward, in terms of the interventions you've advocated in the past and you still continue to talk about, what are the things you want to see? And in terms of the interventions, perhaps you might want to enumerate some of the things you want to see and things you're seeing.
Okay, one is, I think it's very, really convenient right now to say that, look, just yesterday, Mr. President was able to unveil the compressed natural gas powered buses, because this was one of the promises he made. And this also ties in perfectly into one of the contents of his speech to the National Assembly when he said we're going to work, to attract investors to bolster our energy transition. So we're taking this things one by one, and I'm happy that this happened yesterday. State if we go ahead, we'll be able to reduce the pressure. You saw what the chairman of the Depots and Petroleum Marketers Association chairman said, Winifred Akwani, that this is again, Mr. President has done well by ensuring that students who previously did not have access to funds to be able to go to school, that we are taken care of. In addition, Mr. President has also signed the minimum wage. All we're waiting now is
of local governments. We're now seeing, what is happening as perhaps as a trigger or whatever, maybe it has triggered some other activities, and we've seen states which hitherto had caretakers for donkey years are now rushing to quickly get elected excos into the LGAs so that they can access the funds, because the status of the caretakers have been, made illegitimate by the Supreme Court ruling. What are your comments on this?
My comments are that these are positive signs. I think I've used this positive signs issue a few times this afternoon. These are positive signs. We've been on this matter. We've been talking on it. Some of us, when we were in the National Assembly, pushed for legislations like what we did with the Electoral Act, to provide in Section 150, subsection 3, subsection 4, to ensure that local government elections that are conducted must be in line with the Electoral Act. So for states that had not done this for donkey years, like you said, 10 years, more than 10 years, for them now to be waking up to do this means that these governments should be commended for doing the right thing, for going to the Supreme Court to get proper interpretation. This is important because if you get the rural community working, the grassroots, with the local government functioning properly, taking care of basic issues about primary education, health needs, and more importantly, security, because a local government chairman understands the composition, the makeup of the area where he's a local government chairman. So if he has the resources at his disposal, he will be able to rein in some of those people who are causing trouble and take them away from engaging in crime and other vices. So I think we are moving in the right direction. The next thing that I know that by the grace of God we'll be able to get done is for the review of the Constitution, for us to ensure that local government elections are done in line with those sections of the Electoral Act, which is 150 subsection 3, and then to ensure that truly local governments belong to the people, to create employment, to ensure that we have development. I regard the 774 local government centers as development areas for the nation. If the managers of these or those who are the chairmen are freely, truly, in a very transparent manner, leading their people, taking care of agriculture, which is suffering right now in the remote areas, development in different forms, education, and more importantly, the issue of security. If we have this in place, we move on without a distraction.
Yeah, you've made some very good points, but there seems to be, I think we as a people should acknowledge something. In some of these states where elections have not held at local government level in 7, 8, 10 years, in some cases, that means perhaps the concept of democracy had broken down at the subnational level at some point, because now that a lot of them are rushing to quickly conduct these elections, that means that the status quo was favoring some people, and then the whole issue of, having caretakers was done in bad faith.
Fisayo, see, this is like work in progress, but, I recall that way back, a little before 1999, some of us moved ahead, did papers, and talked about the urgent need to control funds accruing to local governments to ensure that they are put into good use for the benefit of the grassroots. However, after 1999 to 2003, and then the attempt by Argon to secure longer tenures in office, and it failed. I think the people at the state level, that's the governors, they were not able to hold the local governments down. I'm not surprised because I recall that even the state houses of assembly in the 6th National Assembly initially were going along to have, autonomy. But it was also the speakers that came back and said, no, we do not want autonomy. So it's important for us now to free this nation, allow the organs of government to work effectively and productively for the benefit of the people. Why is everybody rushing to do elections now? They are rushing to do elections because the provisions of that judgment says if you do not have elections, if you have caretaker committee, you are not going to get the funds that are allocated. Funds that are allocated to local government they are clearly marked when you are taking your money from Federation Account Allocation Committee. I was a former commissioner for finance. So, but when this money gets into the so-called joint state and local government accounts, it becomes difficult to find them. They disappear. So, I think we are now moving in the right direction. And
I hope they didn't disappear under your watch as Commissioner for Finance.
No. This government deserves to be commended, for really moving forward to cure this. Because this has been a very, very, very troubling aspect of this democratic practice. For something you have practiced now for nearly a quarter of a century, if it's not benefiting you, there is the urgent need to ensure that we address these things. We've got autonomy, financial autonomy. We should also get proper ways of conducting local government elections so that the people who are elected, they are truly elected to serve. And then you have different parties winning elections, so there will be competition in a very positive way.
Okay. Not in some cases where everybody who registered will vote, nobody will be sick, and everybody will vote for one particular party in a state. Anyway, let's move on very quickly to the second part, the closing part of this discussion, and let's take the federal government's message as the world celebrated World Youth Day. Let's take that. We'll be back.
Considered being timely, a moment the Nigeria Police Force is organizing a youth summit commemorating the International Youth Day, recognizing the potentials of young Nigerians and the crucial role they play in addressing global challenges. The summit, which is coming barely a few days after the nationwide protest, is a testament to the federal government's commitment in engaging the young people and empowering them to reach their potentials.
Our administration has made substantial investments in youth empowerment programs since we came on board. These initiatives are designed to address immediate needs while creating sustainable opportunities for education, sports, agriculture, entertainment, skills acquisition, healthcare, and entrepreneurship.
We are dedicated to supporting and empowering our youth as active agents of change and leaders in building a safer, more prosperous Nigeria.
The President's Renew Hope agenda is rooted in the vision for a Nigeria where our youth are not only participants, but are leaders in the quest for national security.
With the theme, Enhancing Youth Value for National Security Intelligence, former Vice Chancellor of the Lagos State University and panel discussants called for continuous engagement of the youth, not to be hijacked for selfish interests.
And from the political front, the Social Democratic Party, SDP, joined the clarion call urging Nigerian youth to play active role in politics. The speakers at an event organized by the party to commemorate International Day of the Youth unanimously agreed that it is the only way for them to air their views and have their voices heard.
Aligning itself with the theme of the celebration, which is Youth Empowerment for Sustainable Future, Harnessing Energy for National Development, the Social Democratic Party, SDP, says it will continue to widen conversations around youth emancipation and empowerment.
Let us commit to being proactive agents of change. Let us transform our passion into action, our ideas into policy, our dreams into reality.
Having identified some gaps between youths and leadership which must be bridged, the organizers believe youths as agents of Positive change must stand up and take their rightful place in governance.
It is time to unite. It is time to move. It is time to chart a new course. It is time to move on. There is a leadership.
Awakening the consciousness in the young people to stand up for their country, the youths, they say, must unite in all fronts and use their numerical strength during elections.
You change by leaders by voting them out, not by guns. All of you here, you have the people, you have their guns. The African competitive payment of casting all of you that are still
urging the government to leverage the Chinese and Japanese experiences to build the skills of young people. The forum also identified continued dialogue with the youth, mentorship, inclusivity, and socioeconomic empowerment as areas of action to unleash youth potential that would engender good governance.
All right, time is no longer a friend, and we still have Honorable Nugbo right here on Political Update. Let's quickly ask you, in terms of, the political parties, are you recruiting the youths, into political consciousness and, the doctrines of your political parties, as it used to be, perhaps at least in the Second Republic, for instance? Is that going on, or is just, allow, this mass registration and then we close shop?
Thank you. For the APC, which is my party, we are doing that, and of course you must have seen the caliber of very young people that are in the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. That's a clear indication of the direction that the party is going towards. We would also like to encourage other parties to do the same, because the engagement with the youth, we would always say, oh, the youth, they are the leaders of tomorrow. We must put it into action. We must learn from what people have done in some other countries. And of course, you see young men starting off at a very young age. Imagine when Mark Zuckerberg became one of the billionaires at a very young age, 1920. So we have to engage our youth. We have young men too here, young men and young women here who are doing well. We must encourage them in the private sector, in the public sector. Just take a look. Some of the people who have become governors and who have also become ministers, a few of them, they were former local government chairmen. They started from there. So we need to engage them, and we need to mentor them properly and make them to inculcate in them the idea that they have to work, and they have to work with integrity and honesty, because that is what will help to build them as they grow into leaders.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Nigbo. So many questions to ask you. We still have the Edo and Ondo State elections coming up. But before then, they need to clear the table in terms of two people with the letterhead of Deputy Governor in Edo State. We'll do that in subsequent programs. And we'll be looking at those elections as well. That's the political update for today. Many thanks for watching. And many thanks to our guest, Honorable Simon Nigbo, for being a part of the program today. And you for watching. We'll be back again later on, of course, this week, and between now and then, please play your politics for the greater good and keep it logged on the Nigerian Television Authority for news reviews, previews, and interviews. Bye-bye now.